everyone. Today is day 2 of the Element of Arts palette, and we're talking about the color. And I wanted to show you very quickly how to do the color portion of this to actually start coloring on it. So you should have already divided your color splotch into 12 sections, as I explained in the other video. And those 12 sections are going to become your 12 colors. So let me switch over and talk about this. Now, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to do a little example because you've got the still photo of this so you can actually see everything. Okay, so we've flipped views and you are now looking at my Elements of Art palette that I have divided into 12 spaces. So for this palette, I am going to start coloring. Now remember, this is already divided into 3 sections. The innermost circle right by the brush tip is going to be for your tints. The middle band is going to sort of just be normal colors. And then finally, the outer band is going to be for shade. So we'll be applying some black to that. If you happen to have a white colored pencil at home, you can use that once you've got all the colors in to go over this innermost band and make it lighter for the tint. However, our school sets don't come with white as a colored pencil. So while I have them at school and we can usually do that when people are here, this year it's a little different. So go ahead and just as you are applying the color to your individual sections, make this as light as you can. That should hopefully jog your memory that tints have white in them. All right, so as I said, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to do a little snippet. So one of my favorite colors is blue. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that. But before we get going, note that you only have 12 colored pencils. And while there are 12 spaces, these colors don't necessarily align with the ones that you want straight out of the box. So you're going to have to do some mixing. So for example, if you're looking at the color wheel, there's no blue-green here. And so let's say I'm going to put, and you can start anywhere. Traditionally, color wheels start with yellow at the top, but we're not doing a perfectly sectioned color wheel where your complements are going to be across from each other because on the splotch, it's just not feasible. So really, you can start anywhere. So I'm going to start with blue. So I always start coloring by going as light as possible and then darkening up. If you go as hard as possible, you're not going to get a very even tone. So I try to fill in all the spaces first, remembering to go light in this little section. Now I'm going to start going a little harder. Oops, and my pencil is breaking. So colored pencil lead is very soft. 7th graders, you might not realize this because you haven't had me yet. And it breaks very easily. And so that's one of the reasons you want to treat your colored pencils very nicely and not bend them or snap them, because it actually breaks the lead inside so that when you're sharpening, sometimes it'll get really frustrating because you'll keep sharpening and then it'll break off. So you also have to watch because these will break inside a pencil sharpener. So my 8th graders and all my other older students know that we don't put colored pencils in the electric pencil sharpener because when they break off in there, I can't get to them. However, when they break off in the regular pencil sharpener, if you just tell me, I can dig it out with the end of a paper clip. All right, so that looks pretty good. Pretty even. Maybe I should have gone just a little firmer up here. We are going to add black over that, so it will darken up. Oops, and I've totally broken it. Well, pause for sharpening. Another thing about colored pencils is when you sharpen them, you don't actually want them to a fine point like you would for a pencil that you write with. You want them a little bit dull on the end, and in part that's because the magic of colored pencils is that they blend, and if you've got a real sharp point, it's actually hard to do that with. All right, I'm pleased with that square. Now, of course, the next color in the color wheel would be blue-violet. So I'm going to go ahead and color both blue-violet, put down the layer of blue to blue-violet, and then also on this one, remember we go back sort of in clockwise order, so this would be blue-green. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to blend these once I get the blue down. So fast forward time. Okay, eagle eyes will notice that I've put down about half the density in these two splotches as I've put in this one. And there's a reason for that. This is going to stay blue. This is all the blue where it needs to do. I don't need to add anything to it except at the very end when we add the black for the shade. However, these two pieces are going to become blended colors because these are going to be the tertiary colors. So on this side of the blue is the blue-green, and on this side of the blue is blue-purple. So remember, think about your color wheel as a clock. And so you start at one point of the clock and you go around. And I've included a color wheel in your materials for this project so that you can look at that as you're drawing. So with the blue-green, I'm going to use the dark green because I don't think that the light green that comes with it is going to show up in the way that I want it to. You are welcome to experiment with that. You may use either, but I'm going to select the dark green. And then I'm also going to use the purple when I get to here. So what I'm going to do now is apply about the same density that I've done with the blue with the other color. And then I may try blending it with my finger or even a little piece of a tissue paper till it comes off, it comes out to be the color that I want it to be, which should be equal parts blue, equal parts green, and equal parts blue and equal parts purple. However, I would note that this isn't formal art paper that we're doing this on. And as copier paper, this doesn't have much of a nap on it. It's very smooth. Art paper has a little bit of what we call a tooth. And a tooth helps grab, it just means that the paper's got a little bit of a texture to it. And that texture actually helps hold on to the colored pencil. So there's only a limit here how dark we can get this. So we'll just see what happens. I went ahead and added the purple to it because I really wanted you to have that visual comparison to see what it looks like with a primary color and a secondary color and then the tertiary colors in between. It's not showing up well on my camera, but this really does look very different. Well, that's as good as I can get it. I promise you that in person, this looks a lot more purple than this. These right now look the same color, but they're really not. That's a trick of the camera lens, unfortunately. I just played with the settings to see if I can get it to show up. So I hope that that makes sense for you guys. Now what I'm going to do is show you how to do the shades. So again, if you have a white pencil and you want to go over the center section when you're all done, that's great. I don't happen to have one with me here. I do have a black though. So I'm just going to go ahead and lightly, very lightly, go over this outer band and make this into a shade. And as light as you pressed on the other ones on that center section, you probably have to go lighter or it's going to look really stark very fast. Okay, Remember when I said at the beginning that the paper would only hold and it sort of absorb so much colored pencil? I have reached that saturation point. I can just feel that my colored pencil isn't really sticking anymore. But it certainly gives us the idea, and I hope that you guys can see the difference between these bands and that it'll be a useful exercise for you to do and a handy paper to have around as a reminder. And I'm going to suggest that when we're all done with this, that you either glue or tape this inside of your folder so that you have it to refer to throughout the year. So the last thing, once you go around and you finish all of your colors, the last thing to do would be to label this. I'm going to go ahead and label this as color. And I'm going to go ahead and label this as my tint. And I'm going to go ahead and label these as my shades. And then, if you recall, I'm also asking you to label the primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. So blue-green is, of course, a tertiary color. So we're going to write a little 3 with a degree. Blue is a primary, so a little 1 with a degree mark. Blue-purple is tertiary. And purple is going to be secondary. So you can go all the way around and get that taken care of. So remember, there are 3 primaries, 3 secondaries, and 6 tertiaries. So you will, if those all add up, then you're good to go. All right, I hope this made sense, and I look forward to seeing all of your lovely papers very soon. Take care.